over de dalkon yogi ya yogi ya this kaya ni dis yudo sa jinkat kaneski this. Thanks for coming here, everybody. It's so good to see you all. Today is Thursday. I almost called it 4 day. So when you talk about the days in Tlingit, we refer to them one through five for Monday through Friday, and then Saturday is what's that? What's that do a sock Saturday sky do can get there's Sunday is Sunday.
I thought it's Seidu Yagi.
I have Cindy Katsuku.
Oh yeah, that's the one I know. Is Sunday Katsuku, Little Sunday. Saturday is Little Sunday. It's my favorite day. Um, but today is Thursday. But when I was looking at the English word, I say dalkunyagi, and then when I went to translate or interpret, I almost called it 4 day because it's the fourth day. Anyway, April is the month of true plant budding, and 13 days have passed this month. Coming up on tax day. Yeah, welcome to class. So on Tuesday we had a really good discussion continuing our talks about respect, implementing it in our lives as a daily training, something we're always tasked with passing to the younger generation in a good way, as the examples showed by the way Shaksani Keek learned and how she teaches respect. And we're going to segue into a food theme for the next few classes. And I put together a demonstration of how to do a show and tell. So you all are welcome to put together your own, and I'm going to show you how I did my first one. And we'll collaborate. Well, I'll need a volunteer after I'm done to create one with me, since I know that typing can be a barrier and for Lingit language learners because you need the certain keyboards downloaded and not everybody has them yet. But we'll transition into you all creating your own, and then we'll give you a chance next week to share them. So this is an introduction to a new activity for us. And let's get started. So a little bit about sharing your show and tell just before we begin. A couple things that are good to keep in mind. When I was first assigned a show and tell in my beginning Lingit language class when I was a beginner, I got nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to present something in front of everybody. I'm too scared. It's too hard. You know how your mind creates things into bigger things than they really are? So Shakhsani Keek and I talked about that. And we just wanted to open by reminding you, it doesn't need to be perfect to start. Many times when you go to do something, it doesn't work out the way you expected it to or wanted it to. The reason we bring this up is because Shaksani Keek and I go through it all the time. We'll create an idea and then we're like, it didn't go the way, it went great, but it went different from how we were expecting. So just being relaxed in the knowledge that that can be how it turns out, and it's okay. We're here to help you, and if no one's ready to share, I'll co-create one with you. So let's move on. The resource we want to work from is Lingit Class. That's our phrase book, and this is a great place to start as you're beginning to express yourselves in Tlingit, because you can trust that all of the entries put into the phrase book were provided by fluent speakers, and it was published by the Alaska Heritage Institute, and they did the work they needed to. So for a demonstration of how I did my first show and tell, I recreated one, and let's take a look. A place you can start is having a template for your notes. So for me, anytime I'm taking notes on something I'm going to present, I like to have a table with Lingit on the left side and then the English translation on the right. This way, when I look at notes in this format, as you can see on the screen, it's really clear for me to see which lines I'll say in Tlingit in order, and visually and verbally, I'll start to build a connection between the phrases. So we'll start really small. I put one together and I'll take you through the process of how I did this. But for my first example show and tell, I went through Tlingit Krenachsa and I picked 4 phrases that made sense for my content. And as you can see, it's all about being hungry, and that's the chapter we're going to work on since our week theme is food. Our week's theme is food. So for mine, I put Sitgausana Tchagawoya, it's lunchtime. And then I said, Ach ide ya yanahin, I'm getting hungry. And then I added, Chat achituaha, I'm hungry for fish. And then the last line I chose is Chat gagachtusi, we're going to cook fish. Um, put those together. And then I found for this purpose I chose pictures from a Google search. I have one for lunchtime, I have one for someone being hungry, someone thinking about food, and then cooking fish. And so we'll go through together looking at Lingit Krenachsa and make this little show and tell. So opening up Lingit Krenachsa, and it's in chapter 9 is the chapter we're going to look at. It starts on page 31, and it's the chapter for cooking, eating, and talking about food. This is my favorite chapter in Lingit Krenachsa. And so I have a feeling most of you have this link by now. I'm going to put it in the chat anyway in case we have newcomers or you're not familiar with it, but there's the link for the resource. And again, a great thing about this online version is that you can click the upper left corner icon. It's 3 bars, that's your menu, and go down to the bookmark view and scroll to your chapter. We're going to chapter 9. You can click it and it'll hop right to chapter 9. So you don't have to scroll through all the pages. And to give you an idea of how I chose my phrases, other good thing about this resource is that you don't have to be super creative. You can either copy phrases or exactly, or if you want to change them just a little bit, a great place to start with that is just changing one noun. So let me show you what I'm talking about. You can see some of the phrases here. Yi'itke anuaha, are you all hungry? I'm hungry, arityan uaha. I think mine I chose I'm getting hungry, arideya yanahin. And so what I did was I started with I'm getting hungry, arideya yanahin, and I copied this phrase over to my table and put it here. I put the English translation for my own studying purposes. Your goal will be to memorize and practice pronouncing them in order. But for me, doing this took a while. Like, I didn't just write them all down and memorize them that day. So just let it be okay. Like when I presented my show and tell, I even had notes there for my own comfort. But I think I tried my best to pronounce them and memorize them and recite them. But so I started with this phrase, and Then the next one, I thought, okay, if I say I'm getting hungry, what's something I could say after that? So I kept scrolling, and there's this sentence here: I'm hungry for pilot bread. I copied it, um, but I wasn't really hungry for pilot bread, and in my show and tell, I wanted to talk about fish. So, one way you can start to change the nouns is like looking at these phrases. If I say, okay, I know I'm hungry for pilot bread, is got أريد uaha. What kind of things can I look for? How can I find out which part of that means pilot bread so that I can change it to fish? Just looking at that, you guys could unmute your mics, answer, raise your hand, however you're comfortable.
I see the word eat.
Uh, okay, she sees the word eat. So, got, aha. Any other ideas? And I'll keep scrolling. If you have an idea, you can unmute. Otherwise, I'll just keep looking here.
Well, Fadl is the word for pilot bread.
Yeah, and how did you come to that realization?
Because I read it in the book.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly the kind of resourcefulness you'll use. So this question isn't designed to be obvious. I'm taking you through my mental process of how how I change a noun in a phrase. So one of our students recognized this word "got" as being the word for pilot bread. If you want to check, or if you're not sure, one clue I would look at is well, I'm looking at this part and saying that looks pretty similar to this phrase that's I'm hungry. I'm starting to make a connection between I'm hungry and the part of I'm hungry for pilot bread that just means I'm hungry. So I'm seeing a similarity here. I might make a guess. Got might be it. And what I'm going to do now is check using the dictionary. So I'm going to copy this word, open up the dictionary, and paste it in my search bar. And so I'm going to look through, as you can see on my screen, in the dictionary, "got" appears 7 times, and I'm going to scroll through them all. But already in the first appearance, I see an example and a definition that says originally just "got," which now means pilot bread, could also mean fungus. So that's kind of fun. I'm going to keep scrolling through my other entries and see what else I find. So now my next one is an entry you've got, and I see the definition. Okay, that means fungus, but I also see a description which it repeats again. It's now used to refer to pilot bread. So I'm pretty sure by now that got is my word for pilot bread. Here's another one where I can see in a gloss that it means cracker. And not only am I finding what I'm looking for this purpose, I'm also building a relationship with this word now, got. I'm putting together a list of meanings. Okay, it could mean fungus, it could be pilot bread, maybe it could be cracker in general. As I start to express myself in Tlingit, I might start using this word now that I've spent some time with it. So this is all to demonstrate that it won't always be a straight line. Like, okay, here's what I want to say. Here's how to say it. Sometimes it'll be a research process that takes you down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and it's totally okay to spend that time. Askatik Shah, your hand is up.
Yeah, this is a neat one because I noticed in one of them, it said like, it's going around the tree. And then one of the goths was for a life vest, which is like, if you think about it's going around your body. So then it makes me think like, oh, so like personal flotation device, right? So it's like, I wonder if part of it is because somewhere in there, part of it is the going around. And so you can apply it to other words to going around. That's
Yeah.
the get seek. Anyways, it's just fascinating to share.
Yeah. Yeah. So here, if we look under Gat Seek, this is an entry for life jacket, personal flotation device. And in quotations after the entry is a literal translation. So cracker belt is what they put for Gat Seek, which means life jacket. And if you look after that, you have what's called a gloss. So if you start seeing an entry or part of the dictionary entry where you're seeing plus signs and arrows, this is your gloss. And it breaks down in order which each function means. So got is the first part in the Lingit gloss. And if I look over to the English correlation, which is after the arrow, got will correlate with the first part before the plus sign. So bracket or fungus cracker, and then belt seek is the word for belt. So
Well,
as we mentioned,
when they saw the cork, it reminded them of the fungus. The fungus is quite heavy, so it can be used as a floater, but it's kind of interesting that they would put that name on it when they saw cork, because cork is a flotation device.
oh, cool. That is very cool. I had never heard that before, but it makes a lot of sense. That is super cool. So that's awesome. So this takes us back to the phrase book, and we're looking at this example. Gat aha. Now I know that pilot bread means got, which comes from fungus. It looks like a cork. It got used to describe things that looked like the fungus as the Tlingit language adapted to European contact. And so this turned into like a history lesson, a language lesson all in one. And so now I have Gat Achid Uaha, and for my purpose, and you don't have to do this, but I wanted to change pilot bread to fish. So which part of the phrase Gat Achid Uaha will I change?
Gosh, at the beginning.
Yeah, so the part I'll change is Gat at the beginning. And we're also noticing now in English, pilot bread comes last. I'm hungry for pilot bread. And now I'm seeing a change in word order because got comes first in the Tlingit phrase. So this is a good reminder that Tlingit and English have different word order. That's why starting with just replacing a noun is a pretty safe way to start changing phrases if that's what you want to do. So here we go. As our classmate mentioned, got is the part we want to change, and then I wanted to change it to fish. So if I don't know at that point in my learning the word for fish, I can look it up. I can look it up in the dictionary, and I'm gonna scroll through till I find fish, and you have a plethora of things to look through here and choose. Fish is going to show up in the dictionary, whether it's like part of like red rockfish. I see khayq. Oh, is that what I want to use? Or do I just want fish in general? If I just want fish in general, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the word. Maybe you already know the word for fish, or if you're not sure, you can scroll through the dictionary until you find what you're looking for. Mine is going to be hot. This is a word I already knew and can get, but I'm going to check my spelling. So fish in general is hot. I see it's an underline X and a high tone AA. So everyone go ahead and repeat just this word after me. Hot.
Hot.
Okay, one more time. Hot.
Hot.
God.
Hot.
Okay. So this is one phrase I changed to mean hot. So the whole phrase, go ahead and repeat this phrase after me. Hot
Hot.
Chad,
Achit
Hot.
uaha.
uwaha.
Uaha.
Okay. So here we have, I'm getting hungry, I'm hungry for fish, and I wanted to add one more, but this is plenty. If you choose 2 lines for your first show and tell, that is plenty. I wanted to add one more, so I went back into Lingit Class, and I'm looking for, what else might I use in here? There's a lot of options. He or she is hungry for boiled halibut. I'm hungry for dry fish. I'm hungry for salmon. Oh, here's an entry in the phrase book. I'm hungry for salmon. So actually, my phrase was already in. If I didn't go through that whole process, is already in here as well. So that's good. That reaffirms we're on the right track. And I'm going to keep scrolling for something else I want to add. I'm just going to choose a phrase that I like or relates to my little show and tell. Um, Here I found one. We're going to cook trout. And this one again. If I just want to say, I could even keep it simpler. I could just say, I'm cooking fish and use this phrase. So go ahead and repeat this one after me. Khat aya gachasi.
Hot
Stat
aya
aya
gas.
gai chasti.
So I'm actually going to use that one since this is my first show and tell. I want to keep it really simple. Say I'm cooking fish. And then I'll check my spelling really quick. And I'm getting, as you can hear, I'm getting lots of repetition as I look in the phrase book and then type it over and then say it and then look back. I'm getting lots of repetition of the phrase, which is really good. So, so the next thing I do for me personally is I want to start building a relationship with these 4 phrases I chose. Oh, and okay, as you can see, I added another phrase, but I put it at the front. And so that one is it's lunchtime. And I think what I did was I kept scrolling. I wanted to see if there was anything else I wanted to add, and oh, I found it's lunchtime. So I took this, but for me, to put it in order of something that makes sense to present to people, rather than putting it last, I put it first. So let's practice these phrases, and this is how I practice internalizing phrases. I start with pronunciation. I start very small, and I kind of build my way up. Four lines might be too much for you when you're just starting, so you could just do, like I said, do 2 or 3. But let's focus on the first line, and let's do just for pronunciation practice. Let's start with just the first word in this phrase. So go ahead and repeat the first word after me. Sit gao san.
Sit.
Go.
Yes.
And then the next word, repeat after me. Atcha. Mhm.
Atcha.
Okay. So now we'll do the first two words together. Repeat after me. Sit gao san atcha.
Sit ga san.
And then let's do the next word. Gao.
Gao.
The first three words together. Sit gao san atcha gao.
Sit.
Sit ga
Gao
san.
san atcha. Gao.
Gao.
And then the last word. Aya.
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 And the whole line. Sit gao san atcha gao aya.
Sit.
Sit
Gao.
ga san.
San
Atcha.
Gao. Aya.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So we were talking about switching the nouns.
Ah,
So like, could you also put coffee on there instead of, like it's coffee time, right? Instead of fish or lunch, I guess.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. So that's a good example. So if we look at this phrase and we want to change it from lunchtime to coffee time, what words might we replace?
靠会 sit 高 san
You're really close. You have kahui, which is your word for coffee. So let's go ahead and take notes. We're going to do this together. So if I want to do copy this one, and I'm going to make an alternative for our class. So we'll do copy, paste. So this one I'm going to edit, and I know that I want kahui in here. And to check my spelling, I'm going to look it up in the dictionary and make sure I have it right. Okay, kahui. So go ahead and repeat this word after me. Kahui.
Kahwe.
Okay. So I'm going to copy this word and put it in our notes for our new phrase. So I'm going to start by just putting it in here. Oops. And I need to take something out. I want to say it's coffee time, not it's lunchtime. So I'm going to change my English. Now something else needs to get, the word for lunch needs to be deleted. So how do we find out which words mean lunch?
atra
Atra, which means food. So we're going to take that out.
go
Close. Gawo is time. So I'm gonna take off.
Sitgawa-san is noon.
Sitgao-san is noon. So Sitgao-san atre is lunch because it's noon meal.
Food.
Yeah. So I'm taking off Sitgao-san atre and replacing it with kahue. Now I have kahue gawoaya. So go ahead and repeat that one after me. Kahue gawoaya.
Kahwe. Galuaya.
Okay. And then to take you through, if we wanted to double check, did I take out the right word? Sitgao-san atre. I'll start with Sitgao-san. Okay, I see in the dictionary Sitgao-san means noon or midday. And then I'll check the other word, etcha. And to the first entry, because it's going to be up there in the A's. I'm going to go up. Let's see. Okay, so if I look in the dictionary at atcha, I'm reaffirming, okay, atcha means food or meal. I'm seeing that in the dictionary right here. So we took off noon meal, meaning lunch, and replaced it with kahwe. So instead of it's lunchtime, We're saying it's coffee time. So for the lunchtime example, we have sitka sana and then I'm going to keep practicing pronunciation. For me, this took several days of just working with it at my pace, practicing it, repeating it, asking for help. So at this point, I might go to Shaksani Keek and say, does this sound right for it's lunchtime? Sit gausana tcha gawu aya.
Yeah, that sounds good, but when you change the word from fish to coffee, then you're talking about two entirely different things. So when you talk about liquids, it changes a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of like how we consume it.
How you serve it.
Okay. Jeez. So that's good to know. So when we do our coffee example, we'll be asking Shaksani Keek for guidance because we know she knows more about the context of how to talk about coffee, and we'll ask her for advice.
Yeah, if you say, hand me a cracker. When you're talking about coffee, kahwe, in.
Okay.
Mm.
So I'm gonna take notes since we have Shaksani Keek here now. I'm gonna take advantage. And so I might say, hand me a cracker, and it'll look like this. Means hand me a cracker. And if I want to talk about coffee, I'm going to change it to coffee. Jeet. Sit in. Hand me the coffee. So this is a good example of the way handling verbs, the way we talk about handing something to somebody. In Tlingit, it's gonna be specific to the type of thing you're handling because the way I hand someone a cracker is gonna be different from the way I hand them a spillable liquid. And the verb in Tlingit changes for that meaning. And so we need to use the correct handling verbs. So let's practice these ones while we have Shaksani Keek here. Let's practice this Yuhan for hand me a cracker. Everyone go ahead and repeat this line after me.
Oh,
And did that sound right, Shaksani Keek?
Yeah.
Okay. And so now let's practice the one for coffee. Everyone repeat after me. Kahwe achjit sa'in.
Wait.
in.
Okay. So now we learned another. Did that sound okay, Shaksani Keek?
Yeah, that sounded right.
Okay. So now we learned another concept and can get through this process. Askatu, show your hands is up.
Further to what you're saying, I scrolled down a little further thinking about like, okay, now I'm full. And it's interesting because there's two different ways to say it. There's I'm full of solids. This is the bottom of 33. And then there's I'm full of liquid. So just like you were saying, like it even depends, like it changes. So those examples like after the coffee or after the food. Wow, just neat.
Yeah, that's an awesome observation. So we're looking at the bottom of page 33 where Askatiksha noticed, okay, if I'm full of solids, I might say Khat shawahik. So everyone go ahead and repeat that one after me. Khat shawahik.
Hut shell.
Shower hit.
Okay.
And then if I say I'm full of liquid, this next one, the verb to be full changes. So go ahead and repeat this one after me. Khat shawak it.
Hot
Hot
shower.
shower.
It.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and we might even add these. So since we're kind of on that theme, okay, I'm noticing the difference between words we use around solids and liquids. I might add this to my show and tell as an option, something I might want to add. So chet shahik is what I'm going to add for your lunchtime. Shahik and full of solids. And then I'm going to check my spelling, just looking back at the phrase quick. Chet shahik. Chet shahik. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm full of liquid. Chet shahik. So I'm going to add this to my lines of things I might include. So chet shahik.
So if you were gonna say I'm full of coffee, you would
Ah.
put the coffee at the beginning. Kakwe ka shawase.
If I'm full of coffee, would I say kahwe chet shawik?
Software. No, I don't think you need to the word coffee there.
Okay.
You can say coffee tea. Such how it
Okay. Kahwe
specify time teen. Such coffee teen. Add the word teen to
Okay.
I'm full of this.
I'm full of coffee. So kahwe tin chet shawik. This is really good. So we just asked Sheikh Kik if I want to specify kahwe, and she added this word for us. So I would say kahwe tin chet shawik. But she also mentioned that you don't necessarily need to specify because if you're saying the full liquid, maybe it's kind of known from context that it's coffee. Good question. This is really awesome participation. So now I have a long list of phrases that I've put together. This doesn't mean that I have to present all of them in my show and tell. So that's another thing I want to encourage folks to do. When you start looking at phrases and putting them together as you are now, you might come up with a whole long list. And then when it comes time for you to present something, you can always scale it back and say, okay, I'm keeping all this for my knowledge. This is a lot of good phrases I want to learn. For this particular assignment, I'm still going to keep it to 2 or 3 just so that I can ease my way into my public speaking practice. So that's all I want to add is that I encourage you to do what you're doing is keep adding stuff and don't worry about this means I have to memorize it all now because you don't. So are there any other questions so far? So we've started practicing our pronunciation. And for me, say if I'm in class and I want to be able to present this, I'm going to go ahead and start putting them to slides for my show and tell. And this is where I just did a quick Google search for each one of my phrases to try to find an image to put with my words to help me remember the topic I'm talking about and also to help communicate to my audience what I'm saying. So it's lunchtime. I'm gonna take my phrase, "Sitkau sana kakau aya," and I'm gonna copy this into my lunchtime picture. So I'm pasting it here. If I want to add the English translation or as a reminder, I can. If I do that, I'm always going to put it smaller and below the Thinget because my purpose for this exercise for myself is to practice the Thinget. If I need a little reminder, then I might just add it really small beneath. And I might make these a little more centered. And so here's our first slide for our show and tell. And then I have the English below it, and then I have a picture to illustrate. This, when you do yours, you could be holding something up or whatever is comfortable for you. If you have a jar of fish and you want to present it, you can. I think that's what I did for my very first one. And then for my second slide, I have a picture of a woman with a fork and knife in hand. She's looking like maybe she's not super pleased. She has an empty plate in front of her. So which phrase from our phrases we put together might illustrate that?
I think this really lends itself to if if you would like to have a partner to do your demonstration and talk to each other. Like, Yadu Kahui, and then the other person can say, Shukwa Tuasiku, whatever in it. So you can you can team up. You don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I'm just taking notes of what Shaksani Keek added for our kahwe dialogue. Yadu kahwe, here's coffee. And then shukwa tuwasigu, I want sugar. Sugar.
Or you can say Shukwatina UK. I like it.
Okay. 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 I like it with sugar.
It's good with sugar.
It's good with sugar. Oh yeah, that's right. The K is it's good. It's good with sugar.
No surprise there.
Katsu yuke shukwatin yuke. I like it with sugar too. And so, as Shaksani Keek mentioned, and we want to encourage you to partner up when you do yours, you can work together and turn it, as she mentioned, into a short dialogue with a little bit of back and forth. It just makes it fun.
You don't have to come up with a lot.
Yeah. So for I'm getting hungry. I have this picture of a person getting hungry, so I'm just gonna quickly caption. And I'm gonna add the English just for my own reference for studying. I'm gonna put it down below. And then I have a person here who's thinking about like I was like, okay, I wanna illustrate that I'm hungry for fish. So what I did was take a picture of a person who's thinking, and then I put a little thinking bubble, and maybe like I'll add a fish there. I'm hungry for fish. And then like if I wanted to be creative, I could add a fish in her thinking bubble. And then the last one for if I'm taking 4 of these lines I pulled from the phrase book, I'm cooking fish would be my last one. So this part of the process is just a matter of taking what you compiled. I would call this my research phase, even though we're pulling a lot of phrases and now I get to pick from them in order to refine it into something that's concise and clear just for me to practice communicating. So I'm taking kataya gahasi, and that means I'm cooking fish. I'm gonna copy it and okay, so put it in here. So just to demonstrate to you, now say I'm doing my show and tell, I have some slides that I can share with the class. There's a picture and it just kind of gets my point across. And so if I were to present this as my show and tell, after practicing pronunciation, I would just go to class and share my screen and say, Sipgao sana kagawu aya, ahideya yanahain, kata hituaha, kataya gachasi. So that's the end of my show and tell that you all helped me with. And so I think we should continue on with the coffee one for our next class discussion, or we still have 10 minutes. But before we do that, are there any more questions about this process? This class always flies by. I'm like, I wish I had 2 more hours with you all.
Do we have a timeline for when we're going to do the show and tell, like the presentation?
Yeah, we were talking about so tomorrow we have a class activity, a demonstration already lined up. Shakhsani Keek is going to share with us a fun demonstration on making fry bread. And then next week, Shakhsani Keek will be busy on a trip, so it will be us together. And we'll have that whole week to work on our show and tell exercise and potentially present them that next Thursday. If anyone's ready on next Tuesday, you could, or Thursday.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be a fun activity. You don't have to be so scared.
Yeah, good enough cheese. Yeah, thank you for reminding us. Some tips we wanted to add for creating the show and tell, or as we mentioned, help each other. You can choose whether you'd like to make a show and tell or a short skit. You can we encourage you to partner up with other students and like we mentioned, do some back and forth. And then if you have pictures that you want, sometimes when I would do this for when I was a Lingit language student at the university, I would use my own photographs so that if I was out on a hike and I saw some things and wanted to talk about them, I would put my own photographs on there. And you can, if that's the case with you, you can email them to me and I can put them on slides for you if you need help with that. And Sasha Gao, your hand is up.
Yeah, so I'm taking classes through the university right now as well.
Okay.
And so I actually have a few PowerPoints already pre-made.
Okay.
But I don't know, maybe send them in advance and then you could decide. I actually have one from the first semester beginner that goes over like the first 6 chapter stuff.
Cool.
It's in a little cartoon fashion. And then I have a little show and tell. And I just finished doing a mini lesson on Lingit music. And I was just catching up on our previous classes because I had to miss some for work. and saw you guys were going over it. And so, yeah, there might be a lot of good stuff in there for you. So,
Oh my
um,
gosh.
so I'll send that to you in an email and then let you decide what you want to use.
Ik erg cheese. I'm gonna put my email in the chat in case anybody doesn't have it. And if anyone in here emails us slides or photographs or questions, if you want help, please do email me because Shaksani Keek and I go through the emails you send us during our prep periods, and we collaborate on answering your questions and helping you.
In the discussion about crackers and fungus on a tree, I used to hear the ladies say, "Sailor boy caught."
Oh,
So that's specific. You want to use that.
yeah, okay, that's awesome. I'm gonna add it to our notes. Sailor boy crackers or pilot bread. I would add this as almost like consultation notes if I'm using the terminology we use as language learners, because we have the phrasebook, which is an excellent resource, but we also are able to be taught directly from Shaksani Keek, and she has these memories of the language that she grew up in. And so when she can poem for her memory, it adds context for us and phrases we know we can use. So it's just incredible. So I always take notes. Anytime Shaksani Keek is adding information like that, I'm always taking notes, as you can see on my screen here, because it's another phrase you can use. I can't believe it's already end of class. That flew by. Before we close, are there any more comments or questions? How does it feel for you all to think about having this assignment on your hands?
Hello.
Kadi.
I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm finding I have to kind of push myself a little bit out of my boundaries of just kind of my own routine, but I've been working on it, and one of the things I've been trying to figure out is how to say sandwich, but the closest thing I can muster up was saknen hak. So we maybe squished between bread. I got some pictures of stuff that I do in the morning: cook eggs, cut bacon, cook bacon, that kind of stuff. But I just have to transfer it on to the slides.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever heard the word substitution for sandwich. Just a mispronunciation of it.
What's that do? What's up sandwich? Can get kind of
Sandwich.
sandwich. Okay, gonna choose.
Oh, I was telling my husband when I was a kid, I never ate any sandwiches. Never. My mom didn't know anything about peanut butter and jam sandwiches or any kind.
Yeah.
But as ANS juniors, we used to make peanut butter sandwiches for visitors when they came. We'd get that all prepared before they arrived, get all wrapped up and ready to serve.
Okay.
That was the only kind of sandwich I ever knew about. Uh, I think the word that you came up with would need a lot more descriptive words than just that.
Okay. Gonna teach.
Because I guess because sandwiches weren't common among us, so they didn't have to come up with a word for it.
Yeah, so sandwich would suffice.
Mhm.
Okay. Geez, good question, Kadikadikap. And if you have photos, I can demonstrate in the next couple of classes how to add your own photos, how I do it. I'll prepare something ahead of time for that. And we're
You
at,
didn't use the word you came up with, but I think it needs a little more description, probably in a demonstration about how to do it.
okay. Geez.
Yeah, new words are welcome.
Yeah, goodness cheese. Yeah, I was gonna start out by saying that I cut the bacon and I beat the eggs. I cook the bacon and the eggs, and then I squish it between bread.
Okay.
Yeah, I think when you talk about that and then say what you call it, and the name you gave it, so that people will know, because that's pretty picturesque to go that route.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry for breakfast sandwiches.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Maybe I'll have a sandwich for lunch.
yeah. We all know what we're having for lunch now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a fun class activity. If you want to email me photos or if you want me to show, if you put those on slides, we could even work as a class together with Shucks and Keek and be like, is this how you would say this?
Cool. I'll see what I can put together. Uh, but tomorrow I might be able to put something together. I like to use. I got this little menu thing I use, but maybe we can discuss that later because we're kind of out of time.
Yeah, we're gonna teach you um, at Kautikituhan, we're at time, but gonna Shucks and Keek, did you have any more comments or questions for closing?
Yeah, I think that everything's good. Just be aware that you can pair up with somebody to do your presentation if you can't figure out how you can do it alone. So that's okay.
Yeah, Yuhan, gonna cheese hatu thanks for your work. We feel proud of you. We'll see you here tomorrow, same time, same Zoom. See you plus the team.